Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another episode of This Week in Kyrix. Today is Monday, February 15th, 2021, recording for the week of Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. Well, since the next check has come in by now, turns out now it literally loads up like the day after I request it, now that, I've actually gone in the system, filed everything properly, and so on. And it looks like the bonus hits like the day after, so my bills are caught up. I'm completely done. I'm also tapped for the month, because I kept what was left for the couple of bills that I still have at the end of the month. And I had some spending money, went to KFC again. This time I bought strips. Turns out their strips are not as good as the rest of their chicken. I'm imagining it has something to do with the breading used and the lack of spices on it. And it's really not as good reheated, and my roommate keeps refrigerating my chicken. And I finally told him today, please don't put my shit away in the fridge. If it's out, I left it out for a reason. Because I'm one of those people who doesn't like to heavily reheat stuff for as long as I can get away with it. And the problem is, when a lot of stuff gets reheated, like... And when I say reheated, I mean reheated from a cold state rather than reheated from room temperature. It's very different to pop something in the microwave for 10 seconds versus a minute and a half, And the flavor changes considerably at that point. So, yeah. I have actually been relatively busy. I've been playing a little Dead by Daylight. Branching out into more Survivor stuff, because my killer maps haven't been popping up as frequently. I've been participating in the event, although for the past day and a half I haven't been hunting games the way I used to. I played like 2 or 3 and then that's it, when normally I'll get like 6 or 7 in throughout the day. I don't marathon it the way I do other games. I've been recording Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it is not fun. And it is a genuine slog to get through. Like, I do an episode and I'm just like, oh god. It really brings to mind when I was doing Harvest Moon Back to Nature and had to force my way through the final part of the game, the final winter. And it just, well, not even the final winter, the third year of the game. By that point, I'd done everything in the game except look at the credits, see the ending. So I was literally playing through an entire third of the game with no motivation other than roll those fucking credits. I could have literally let everything on the farm fucking die and not lost anything. Like, I wouldn't have even lost enough money to matter. And it just... I could have literally just skipped every single day and been done with it, but I didn't want to. And that's kind of how Final Fantasy VII's feeling for me, and I'm only like 7 episodes in. And I was on Eisen's Discord. He's got a section called Pressure Steamer where everybody's just free to vent. And I decided to use it for that, because normally I'll just respond to people in there, but I'm like, dude, I am not having fun on this playthrough. And apparently, I made it further than some of them did, because they're like, I got to Chapter 3 and put this motherfucker down. And I can totally see that. And I said, every single time this game starts to do something fun that I think I'm going to enjoy, it tears it away and fucks it up. And someone's like, well, what do you mean by something fun? I said, okay, here's an example. I got real excited when I saw the weapon customization. Because for the first chunk of the game, like the first 3 or 4 hours of it, because this game is slow as balls, but the first big chunk of the game, there's no weapon shop. There's no shop, period, for you. I mean, you could buy items, but that's not quite the same thing. Meanwhile, Cloud's Buster Sword is visible on his back at all times. Likewise, you could see Barrett's gun, you could see Tifa's gloves. And before they introduced the shop, there's this system of, hey, you can customize your weapon to unlock new stats. And I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, because some games have done this, including some Final Fantasies have done this, where you don't actually buy new weapons, you just upgrade the one you have. Final Fantasy VIII notably did this, where you would just get parts and upgrade your gun blade or your whip or whatever, and it would just get a little bit better. Suikoden did the same thing, where you just had your weapon, and you take it to the smith, and they just upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. And it looked like that was the case here, because one of the things you can upgrade was materia slots, so that it will hold more materia. And I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. Okay. I think Cloud's Buster Sword is kind of dumb, but it is an iconic weapon, and I kind of like the idea that everyone's just going to have their iconic weapon and just improve it rather than just go to the shops and upgrade it all or replace it all the time. And then, literally 5 minutes later, it's like, hey, you want to buy a sword? Try this one out for free. I'm like, oh, motherfucker. So that system's out the way. Basically, the weapons exist now in a Final Fantasy IX capacity, where you equip them long enough to learn their special skill, and then you switch back to whatever you had. And it's just kind of dumb. Like right now, the only reason I'm using the new sword over Cloud's Buster Sword is it has more materia slots. One moment. Sorry about that. The roommate was knocking on my door asking if the dog was in the room. And I didn't want to stop the recording because I'd have to start over again and redo this whole 6 minutes. But, but yeah, that's one of the things. Another thing is materia. In the old games, materia used to take forever to level up. And I know this because I literally found the highest AP enemies in the game and grinded against them using weapons that gained triple AP and had a lot of slots, meaning that they would gain triple the highest repeatable AP in the game, which I think was like 9 or something, so I'd be getting like 27 AP per battle. And it could have been higher, it could have been 28 for all I know, before the multiplier, and then it would multiply whatever that number was by 3, and I'm still sitting there for 5 hours to level up one materia to max. And there was a twofold reason for doing this. Well, threefold. The first one being, obviously, higher level materia has higher level skills. Like, a fire materia will have fire 2, fire 3, and maybe like something like napalm or inferno or some shit like that. You know? Secondly, the materia would reproduce itself. It would literally split off into another materia. You max out a fire materia, you get a second fresh fire materia. It would literally give birth to another one because it was so charged by your power. That feature's gone, which I'm only mildly irked by, only because it was something I never really got to exploit much in the original game. Because, again, it took forever to grind materia. The third thing, and this may be changed later, because this is only at least the first half, if not third or quarter of the final game. You know, this is just part 1 of a multi-part game that is allegedly still in the works. It should be releasing, I think, next year. But I'd have to look it up, and I don't care to right now. But the last feature being, when you had a mastered version of every materia, like I had a master fire, master ice, etc., every single magic materia mastered, I could take it to a place and infuse it into a master magic materia that would allow me to use every magic spell in the game. Likewise, if I mastered all the summon materia, I could get a master summon. That would not only allow me to use every summon in the game, but let me do so infinitely. I say infinitely because the number of summons you could use on any individual summon was limited by the level. So if I had an Ifrit level 1, I could summon him once, and that's it. Level 2, 2 times, etc. When he's mastered, I could summon him as much as I like. And so ditto, he would be part of a master summon materia. And then there was the command materia, like scan, enemy skill, etc. And when you have that, you get the master skill materia. You put that thing on there, and your fucking menu bar goes nuts because you have every skill in the fucking game. That one was the biggest train wreck, because to really master that, you had to learn every enemy skill, and that required finding those enemies and being hit by them, and some of them disappear after a while, if you know what I mean. So, there may still yet be a master materia in a later part of the game. Right now there's not, but it would be too early for that to appear in the game anyway. That's an end-game thing. There's no reproducing, which annoys me, but it's fine. It annoys me because there are some materia that are really hard to get. And grinding is easier, but meh. And that's the other thing. This is one of those rare times where I want to grind. I want to get to a point in the game where I can just end a recording and then spend 2 to 5 hours just grinding and getting all my stuff up. And like, okay, here's my weapon SP up, so I can customize my weapon the way I want it. Here's my materia powered up so I can use what spells I want, etc. But the problem is, your weapons level up as you level up. So in order to get my weapon insanely strong, I have to be higher level than I need to be. And that just kind of fucks with me. But the real killer, and this absolutely killed my mood, if you watch up until, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I am obsessed with finding an all materia when I remember that you need that to multi-target. Because that was a thing in Final Fantasy VII. You could buy all materia, and what all does is if you get a thing with a slot link, where it links 2 materia, you put 1 materia in one and all in the other, and it will allow you to multi-target with that materia. If you put cure in there, you can cure the whole party. You put fire in there, you can burn the whole enemy party. Well, there's only one of them in the game, and they changed the name to Magnify, and you can't buy it, so you'd have to find it. So that really dampens my spirits, because that means that unless I New Game Plus it, and I might, I'm only going to get one of those motherfuckers. And I don't even know if I should New Game Plus, because I don't know if my levels will carry over, because the second game could come out and I could be 50 levels above where I need to be. So that's a bit of a thing. On the flip side, I have started another project which I am a lot more enthused about. When I realized how much money I had left over after paying my bills, I hopped on PlayStation and bought Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. This is the 4th time I have purchased this fucking game. I'm not even kidding. I owned the physical discs of Neverwinter Nights. I owned the good old games version of Neverwinter Nights Diamond. I owned Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition on Steam, and now I own it on the PS4 as well. Because my computer does not recognize the game exists when I'm running XSplit, so I can't record it. Which means if I want to make recordings of it, and I do, they have to be on the PlayStation. Whether I use the PlayStation's built-in recorder, which is what I'm doing, or I run it through XSplit, which is kind of a pain in the ass right now, I have to do the PlayStation version. It's not negotiable. But I've been having a lot of fun with that. I'm also about 6 or 7 episodes into that, and honestly, I've made about as much progress in the story if you think about it. But I'm having a lot more fun, and I am going to be doing a full run of it. I'm going to be doing the base game. I'm going to be doing Shadows of Undrentide. I'm going to do Hordes of the Underdark, and I'm probably going to do Kingmaker. The rest of the modules I'm probably not going to do because they're kind of iffy on their level of completion. Like, they all, with the exception of Kingmaker, which is very short on its own, they all seem like they were started projects that were never finished, like they were the pilot, like someday we're going to release this thing and you're going to continue on, and it never released and continued on. But that's in there. I bought several Steam games, most of which were on sale. Well, all of which were on sale, but a couple I bought because they were on sale. I now, for the PC, own Overcooked 1 and 2, even though I don't need them. Likewise, Overcooked 2 is on a demo for Switch, so I downloaded it, and I'll probably buy it when the next check comes, even though, again, I don't need it. But when I get a new computer, and I plan to fairly soon, within the next 2 months, one powerful enough to run all of my games and XSplit at the same time, I will be doing the game that I bought, Cooking Simulator, because that's... I don't necessarily know if I'll be recording it. It might be a Twitch thing. It might just be something I play entirely recreationally, because I'm allowed to do that. But it is something I have now. It's something I've been wanting for PS4, but they don't make it for that. And I'm probably going to get it in a VR version. I'm still looking for people to play Barotrauma with, to the point where I will literally flat out fucking buy the game for them if they agree to play with me. So, if you want a free copy of Barotrauma, just fucking friend me on Steam. Tell me, hey, I heard you're shopping for Barotrauma players. I'll play. I'll buy it for you. You know? It's one of those things I feel confident about doing, because if you don't like it, you're not gonna, like, sell it or anything. Worst case scenario, you take it, don't open it, and fucking re-gift it if that's even possible. Or you just flat out don't accept it and it comes right back to me. You know, it's not like you're gonna take it and then sell it and get fucking, I don't know, fucking Think of the Children or something, you know? Or you're not gonna, like, trade it for crack or something, you know? You get the game and you play it, or you don't. But I do want to get a crew together for Barotrauma. It seems like it's fun. I have actually been invited to a tabletop simulator Star Trek tournament league again. I just, for whatever reason, decided to poke my head in the TTS server, and they're talking about it, and I mentioned that I didn't even have a fleet ready, and I haven't played in a while, and they're like, well, we don't need the fleets till today, at basically 11:59 Pacific time, you know, so you've got time to make and submit a fleet, and you'd start out in the lower deck thing, and you could do practice matches to knock the rust off, which I didn't opt in for. But I'm like, okay, what's the rules? And they linked me like 100 points as opposed to the 120 and 130 formats that I'm used to. 50-point max on a ship. There are banned cards that are flat out not allowed, like the warp jumps, which are officially banned. And then there's the restricted list. This is new, and some of them hurt. Like Sakona's in there, Quark's in there. Most importantly, Chemosite and my Ferengi torpedoes are in there. And I live and die on those two cards. I put those in every fleet I can. And the restricted list is you can have 2 cards, period, on the restricted list. Doesn't matter if they're the same card or different cards or what. But you can't, like, have 2 Ferengi torpedoes at a Chemosite, you know. So I put together 2 ships. 2 ships that I play a lot. They're not really altered. Actually, one's a little bit altered just because I would normally play it with Chemosite and something else. But because resources were allowed, I played a resource which made up for that price. So it's not lacking the Chemosite, if you know what I mean. It's a little dampened by not having it, but not so much that I'm gonna notice, if you know what I mean. So it's not going to hurt me in the long run. I will miss that 3rd ship, but in my defense, so will everyone else. And most importantly, one of the big things on the fucking restricted list is Lurin's Bird of Prey and all generic Klingon Bird of Preys of every type. This is a big deal because they are 13 points and people will run 8 of them. And even though they're really crappy ships, trust me, I've run them, they can crush you under sheer weight of numbers. And they will. You know, they'll just put a generic captain on there. Fucking... Let me put it this way. They're 13 points. If you don't put anything on them, you can literally run 7 of the motherfuckers. And still have 9 points left over, so you could put 6 of them and 1 named ship with decent stuff on it and just completely wreck house because you're shooting 7 times to their 2, you know. But there are a lot of ridiculously powerful cards on the restricted list that honestly need to be there, including my favorites, the Quark, the Sakona, the Chemosite and Ferengi torpedoes. Those all belong on the restricted list. I even said that restricted list hurts, but it's reasonable. I agree with everything on that list. Because there flat out is shit on that list that I'm just fucking tired of seeing, you know? like Disruptor Bombardment. I'll run against ships that are like 4 Gorn that all use Disruptor Bombardment, and it's over in a single combat round, you know? Or Cloaked Mines. I know people, I used to game in person with them, who would run 6 fucking Cloaked Mines. Most of the players at my local gaming store back when I was actively going there owned multiple copies of the Praetus just to get those Cloaked Mines. You know, so these are big deals, and they flat out banned fighters. The resource fighters are still allowed, which cost the same, but it takes the place of your resource. And I'm wholly on board with the banning of fighters because they're not balanced for the game, and they're not balanced for the lore. Because you do not, as a rule, see fighters in Star Trek. When you watch the Dominion War episodes towards the end of Deep Space Nine, you will see them. But if you don't know what they are, you will not know that that's what you're seeing. You know, like I didn't know that I was seeing Cardassian fighters until I had seen a Cardassian fighter, and like, oh, those are Hideki fighters, you know? Or I happened to look on a thing, and like, oh, those are Federation Peregrine fighters, you know? Because the scale makes them... The scaling's kind of weird, depending on perspective. They could have just been really small starships, you know? Which, I mean, technically they are. But they're like combat shuttlecrafts, really. And if you don't have them next to anything else for scale, or you forget how big Jem'Hadar ships are, it's very easy to mistake them for being actual ships that you can't identify. So the idea that fighters are banned is really good. In case you're wondering, how fighters work is they have 5 to 6, or maybe it's 4 to 5. They have a certain number of stacks, and every weapon attack will only take 1 stack off. So if 3 ships target them, they can only take 3 stacks off unless they use one of like 4 or 5 weapons in the game that are... And every single one of them is hard to get. Because all but one of them are only found in blind boosters that were only released in a certain event, and are probably now like $40 a piece. And that's before they got scarce. And the other one is available in the Ferengi Faction Pack, which costs about $40, or $30, but you know what I mean. These are not something you can cheaply binge buy. And even then, they only work for certain factions. Like there's a Ferengi one. Well, there's 2 Ferengis. There's a Federation. There's a Klingon. There's something else. You know, and those are your defense. And I'm sorry if you can hear their TV. They're really fucking loud out there, and I can't get them to turn it down. But just gonna have to deal with that noise in the background, and I apologize. But yeah, so I've got my little 2-ship build. I'm reasonably confident in it, mostly because they're operating under the same restrictions I am, and nothing on my thing is any different than I would have built it in that same point allowance. You know, like, it's not like, oh, if only I could have had a 3rd restricted card, because what I built took up all of my points. You know, that resource that I played was 5 points, and I can't think of anything else I would rather put on my 2nd ship that adds up to 5 points that would be more effective than that resource. So this ship, even though I had restrictions on it, this fleet is the way I wanted it. You know what I mean? It is basically as designed. Hey, princess, what you doing? You being a good girl? Yes, you are. Pat, pat, pat. So, to reiterate, Kingdom Hearts is on hiatus for the moment, the recordings. Haven't recorded The Forest for a couple days. Haven't done much Dead by Daylight recording or playing. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Neverwinter Nights are being actively recorded. On top of that, one of the other things I finally did is I ended up spending the money that was supposed to be on hold for Pokemon Snap, because without my permission, rather than dipping into my PayPal account like it's supposed to, it had been renewing my Nintendo Online and everything else that came up via those Nintendo bucks. So I'm like, well, shit. I've already lost like $20 of that just paying off these other things. I may as well get this civilization update that I wanted that'll let me play Mongolia, which is my faction. And basically it cost me like $10 after the difference. So in one of these things, I've got till April. In one of these things I'm going to have to lay down enough money so that I can cover Pokemon Snap and however many renewals of my online there is. I'll probably just put like $100 in there and just let it keep the difference. And for a couple months I just won't pay any money to Nintendo, because it'll all be in there. That's probably what I'll end up doing. Haven't been doing much on Pokemon itself, although I do need to start doing more max raids, because there's an event where you can get a shiny Milcery. Gotta get a hold of Robert, because he's got a bunch of Pokemon Go shinies to give me. Around the 20th, I'm supposed to go hang out with him. We're probably just going to play video games, work on Death Road to Canada, work on Overcooked, maybe some other games. Haven't decided yet. I had my anniversary again. I just basically popped Overcooked 2 in. I didn't reinstall it. It was already installed. But I mean, I just put it back in the menu, played it, 4-starred 2 maps. It was pretty easy, actually. Only went for about a half an hour. I didn't really have anything planned to say, so I just kind of rambled and cooked for 30 minutes. But I made the video. I felt obligated to. I still would love to get a 4-man group of Overcooked 2 together, especially knowing now what I know now, which is that the timer doesn't stop until you, or doesn't start until you put the first order in. I mean, you don't even comprehend how many fucking dishes we could have had done by then. Just like how many soups we could have made, or how many, there's the pizza level, the very first level where you make pizza. I 4-starred that thing without ever having to make a single fucking pizza once the clock started. And I had pizzas left over that I could have just plated up and put on there. And to put it into perspective, I needed like 860 points to 4-star it, and I got 1,950 points or something like that. I literally blew it out of the water by a factor of 1,000 points, or by a difference of 1,000 points. And that's what a difference pre-cooking, for lack of a better term, can make. You know, just the fact that you can do all that shit. And I think with a 4-man group, we would absolutely wreck that game shit. Especially knowing that, because we'd spend the first however fucking long making everything, like prepping everything, like, okay, let's get all these onions cut up, let's get all these fucking tomatoes cut up, etc., so that it's just soups on, soups on, soups on, soups up, you know. You know, we'd have one person whose sole job was to do the dishes. We'd have cooks, we'd have, you know, ingredient gatherers, etc., and it would just, once we got started, we would never stop. And we'd just 3-star everything on the first pass. And I think with a minimal amount of practice, I think we could absolutely wreck that game's ass. You know what I mean? A decent 4-man group with a decent amount of synergy. Once we adapted to the techniques of each level, you know, we could just go in there and just wreck shit first take. And I actually have potentially 2 different groups of people who might be able to do this with me. It's just a matter of setting it up, really. One of them is harder than the other. One of the groups involves Robert and my friend Reaper. And then a 4th person, it could be my friend that I go to SeaWorld with. It could be, you know, someone from Reaper's house, one of their friends, etc. I don't much care. And the other one involves my friend from SeaWorld and her 2 brothers. You know. The only problem is I'd have to get 2 more controllers, but that's not that difficult to do. Tedious, yes. Difficult, no. And for all I know, they might already have 2 controllers, and it's just a matter of either syncing my controls to their console or syncing theirs to mine. And then we all just get on Overcooked and whoop some ass. But honestly, it would probably all take place on my system just so that I would have the footage. And it would just be a case of, okay, this is Overcooked. We're going to go on this thing. We're going to have a sample round, etc. You know, we're going to do a sample file where we just play like through the first world or some shit. Or better yet, I would bring them in, I don't know, what's the word? Like one of the multiplayer maps or something. And we just, or better yet, we do the versus, where it's 2 versus 2. And I would just teach both sides rather than competing, or strictly competing. It would be the learning curve of, okay, here's how you make this dish, here's how you make this dish, etc., etc., you know. And it's not something I'm looking to do right now. It's something I would love to do right now. And it's entirely possible that rather than it being a collab that happens on my PlayStation, it could be a collab that happens on my new computer, because it is a lot easier to gift that to people on Steam, because almost everyone I know has a computer. You know, it's just a matter of, hey, are you willing to play Overcooked with me, you know. So, and if my computer is powerful enough, and it should be when I finally get it, because I'm planning to use like my stimulus stimulus check on it, or my tax return on it. So this is something that I'm gonna put money into. This isn't like, oh, I'm gonna buy a computer that's a whole $300, which is normally my upper threshold for a computer. This is something I'm gonna put some fucking cash into. Also, either my tax return or my stimulus is going to get me a new bed, because I'm sick of this bed. It's old. It was old when I got it. It was fucking third hand, because it belonged to someone else in the house. Then it was my roommate's bed. Then it was mine. So this bed is a fucking slut. It has made the goddamn rounds. And it is... It's basically, it's a little misshapen. There are a couple springs around. Oh shit, that's not much at all. Jesus Christ, that's... Okay, that one's a little ridiculous. But yeah, I'm seeing these things for only like $400 and $500, and I'm expecting like 800 or something. Shit. I could do a lot with this. Yes, yes indeed, this is entirely fair. I will buy myself my first brand new bed. When I say mine, I mean one that I pick out for myself. I've had new beds before. Or at least we've gone to mattress warehouses and shit like that and gotten me new mattresses and box springs. But this is something for me that I'm choosing my budget on, you know. And it's something I've been wanting for like 6 fucking years. I've been wanting the memory foam for a while, both because it seems like it'd be incredibly comfortable, it will not have springs poking me in the ass, and I think the cats would just knead on it all goddamn day. I think they'd have a blast with it. And since all of the animals at some point in the day will sleep on the bed, except for Willow, because she's going through her phase where she doesn't sleep on the bed. But all of them do, so I think they'd enjoy that. And for those who don't know, who've never had multiple cats, cats do things in shifts. Like, right now I have a Kitnip box. Kitnip box is this little, it's a loot box for cats, is what it is. It's Loot Crate for cats. And I have the big one, which means I get basically a household of cats' toys every month for about $30 a month. It's a decent price. And it comes with, like, 5 toys, a dangle toy, and some kind of treat. And it also comes with a box that is rather perfectly sized for a cat to lay in, and that's by design, because even their fucking advertisement shows the cat sleeping in the box while playing with the toys. So what happens is when I get my Kitnip box, I'll keep the box and just put it somewhere, like on the floor, or on the table, or in this case on my bed at the foot of the bed. And one of the cats, generally Oreo, will just claim it as her own, and she'll just sleep in it for weeks. And by the time they're done with that box, the new one has come in, and I just swap them out. Or sometimes I'll put the box down, and one cat will be in the old box, and another cat will claim the new box. Well, for the past week and a half, Betsy has exclusively claimed the Kitnit box, and in the past couple days she's left it, and Oreo's been sleeping in it, you know. They do that where, for a couple weeks, one cat will exclusively have the rights to one area, and then without consulting anybody, they just change. Like, overnight, it's like, oh, now you're in this spot. Okay. So yeah, Willow's in her phase where she's not sleeping on the bed. But there are some days where she's always sleeping in the bed. You know? So I just think it'll help having the memory foam mattress. I think it'll help my sleep tremendously and my overall comfort, because I only have two pieces of furniture in this room. My chair, which is a train wreck, and my bed. So I'm always in one of the two, because I'm rarely just standing around my room. So getting a new mattress and getting a new chair will do wonders for my overall comfort. You know. And given how cheap comparatively the mattress is, and box springs apparently, I might have enough out of my tax return, for example, to also get a really good chair. Not like a gaming chair. I've never understood the appeal of a gaming chair, but a chair that I can game in. You know, like, I don't even know what constitutes a gaming chair. Is what, speakers in it? I don't give a shit about speakers. Let me see. What the fuck is a gaming chair? Oh, Jesus Christ, that's cheap as balls. It reclines, it swivels, it does something. Wow, even the markups on these things, because one of them's marked down to $159, it's still only like $350. What the fuck are these things? What constitutes a gaming chair? I don't know, I might have to look into one. Maybe they're sturdier. Wow, that is remarkably pink. That one's very colorful. I don't know, it's something I might look into. But yeah, the prices on those are a lot lower than I thought they'd be, so maybe just because I can. Let's see, what makes gaming chairs better? Because I've got time to kill. Gaming chair versus office chair. See, I've only ever seen the floor chairs. They looked weird for me. Wow, originally produced for luxury sports car seats. So apparently the point of a gaming chair is they're supposed to be comfortable for sitting for hours. So I don't know, I might pick one up. Because every gaming chair I saw was weird. It was designed to sit on the floor directly. Like, there's no stem to it. It's just the chair part on the ground, and it's got, like, speakers built into it. I'm like, I don't want that shit blasting in my ears. I have headphones, you know? They provide all the boosted sound I need. Matter of fact, whenever I record these, because they're pre-recorded, or the footage is, I turn them almost all the way down, and then when I start to record something else, I have to turn it back up. But yeah, when taxes and stimulus come in, I'm planning to get a new mattress, a new chair, get some fucking upgrades. If I have the money, get some wall mounts for my TV, get it up off the desk, so that Willow will stop laying in it and we can stop fighting. Plus, it'll free up about another 1.5 feet of my desk to be free to clutter shit up on. I haven't really decided what kind of computer to get. I'm leaning towards desktop, but if I can find one that's powerful enough, I'll take a laptop. Let's see, a powerful gaming laptop. That's not insurmountable, but Jesus fuck, that's expensive. Does it come in green? I'm just curious. Looking at these technical details, and I don't know what any of this shit is. And storage capacity seems kind of low to me, but then again, all my stuff goes on externals anyway, so. I don't know, I might have to get with Veli and basically show her the specs of my games that I want to play and say, help me find something powerful enough to run these and a little more, you know? Or, I don't know, look at the newest game on the market and say, okay, find me something that'll run this without chugging. Because most of the games that are new on the market are things that I'm going to get for PS4 or PS5 and run on there, so I tend to run the slightly older stuff on the PC. So, yeah. Which just goes to show you how low-end my system is that I can't even fucking run Cooking Simulator without lagging into oblivion. Honestly, it's gotten to the point now where it even has trouble with Tabletop Simulator, what with all the updates, even though I used to be able to play it just fine. It's just wear and tear, I guess. But, yeah. So I'm gonna be hanging out with Robert on the 20th. Oh, Pokemon players, you know, because you've totally made it this far into the video and are still paying attention. Pokemon players, on the 25th of February, look it up. They're giving away a Pikachu that knows Sing, which is a move it can't normally learn. So, Singing Pikachu, February 25th. I actually have an alarm set. Yay. Not a whole lot else going on, honestly. I've been another one of my patented Star Wars arguments online. Oh, that is a pretty-ass spider. Brazilian jewel tarantula. That is a pretty fucking spider. Seriously, do yourself a favor. Look this motherfucker up. Brazilian jewel tarantula. Anyway, pretty spider aside. Oh, I almost forgot. There's something really, really awesome. I just found out about it. It's still active and it's available on PS4. I'm looking into getting it, and I'm gonna start shopping around for people to play it with. It's called Blackout Club, and apparently the devs get on and fuck with you. Actively fuck with you. Like, they look at your screen name and will cater messages to you, and I think they listen in on your voice chat and fucking screw you over. You know, like, I was watching Markiplier and his people play with, you know, Wade and Bob, and Wade's name is Lord Minion. And at one point they just left him, and they're like, they've abandoned the little minion to us, and they're like, oh my god, they know. It's a lot of fun. It's just the devs are actively fucking with you as you play, and it's pretty damn cool. And I kind of want that to be a thing. I fully game to play with just randos and just game with them, but I'd love to get a group so I could actually record with them, and that seems like super fun. It'd be even better if it's crossplay, because then I could just tell people, hey, get it on Steam, I'll get it on PS4, and we'll play, because that's becoming a thing, and I'm very happy about it. That more and more games are doing crossplay, like Dead by Daylight crossplays. Almost all the asymmetricals crossplay now. Like Dead by Daylight does it, Resident Evil does it, Predator Hunting Ground does it, Star Trek Bridge Crew does it, Star Wars Squadrons does it, which I need to play that some more. I partly got out of it because Veli wasn't playing for a while, and I really want to play with people, and I was getting matched with teams that didn't voice chat, and when you don't voice chat, you don't coordinate. When you don't coordinate, you get your ass whooped. You know? It bugs me that I have all these social games and no one to social with. You know what I mean? I have all these games that are designed to be played with people, with friends, with groups that communicate, and I'm stuck with randos who have no communication. And it's just kind of depressing. As a matter of fact, I think that's the main thing that just generally kills my mood. Is like, oh, I have this awesome game, but I don't play it because I have no one to play with. Like The Forest. I love The Forest. But I would love The Forest 1,000 times more if even one person was online to play with me. You know? Just, if only because then we could take turns, each have a log sled, one person cutting down trees and bring them to base while the other person's building, and then we swap and just keep this going and move at twice the pace that I move, you know. And when the cannibals show up, we have someone to defend against. Or I'm building the base and they're out catching rabbits and deer and shit, you know. And it's just more fun with more people, and I don't have the more people, and it makes me sad. Because the people I could game with don't want to play any of the games I want to play. And I've even said, look, I will fucking buy you this game if you will play it with me. And, meh. But honestly, it's nice that I'm able to catch up on my bills. I'm able to afford new things. This is something to a degree which I wasn't even able to really do when I had my job. Is I got new bikes, but I never got a new bike. I got like, oh, here's a $100 bike at Walmart. This is a fucking $400 bike with a 5-year repair warranty. So if this thing breaks, and it will, I don't have to just say, well, this bike's dead, let me get a new one. Or say, like, well, let me just pay the equivalent of buying a brand new bike to replace this back rim. Because my bikes tend to cost $100 and the rims cost $80. No, I just fucking walk this thing up to the shop and say, your bike broke, will you please fix it? And they will. For 5 years. You know? Then I just hop up on the spare bike and ride home. Well, I don't ride home, I walk home, because I'm not walking 2 bikes up there. Fuck that. If you've ever tried to walk 2 bikes, you know what I'm talking about. It's not ergonomic. Let's go with that as my word. But yeah, I didn't, until this recording, I didn't even consider getting a new chair, much less a gaming chair. That's something to think about. And I think that'll be the stimulus when it comes in, because I need a new bed, I need a new chair. The chair itself that I have is actually really nice. Problem is the wheels are broken, so the chair is lopsided. And I've tried gluing the wheels back on, well, not gluing, but taping, fucking strapping them on, etc. Zip tying them on to the point where I even borrowed money to go get zip ties. Nothing's working. I'm going to just try and rip the wheels off and deal with the consequences, I guess, and just raise the chair a little higher, but if I had a gaming chair, maybe, I don't know. Looks like some of those are memory foam too, so that's one more thing for me to fight the cats over. Because I do. Rio and I compete over the chair or the bed. Like, whenever I'm in the bed, she's in the chair, and then I have to boot her out, and she'll take my spot in the bed. Got that whole fucking bed to lay on, she lays in the exact same spot that I do. Kitty cat's sending me a message. Like, look, Dad, fuck you. Oh, we're out of time. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time.